What is the real meaning behind the name Man Marked by Flames, and what is his identity? The man who saw the sight of the Sun Tree, that's what I believe to be the real meaning of Man Marked by Flames. The mysterious identity concealed behind this nickname could very well be Brook's former captain, Yorkie. This is Den, and I'm happy to see you all once again. Today I'm bringing you guys a very interesting perspective on the name Hinokizu Otoko, what we all call Man Marked by Flames. This new meaning we found can turn all the theories we have on him upside down. And with that, the identity of the mysterious character could be revealed. Without further ado, let's get into this. So, Hinokizu Otoko. The name is written in katakana, which in Japanese doesn't really define a specific meaning behind the name, so it's basically open to interpretation. When you pronounce Hinokizu no Otoko, you can only guess what the name means, and the first thing that comes to mind is Man Marked by Flames, someone who got scarred by fire. This is why Aokiji thought that they were talking about him, but in reality no one saw what the Man Marked by Flames looks like. They just know the nickname he goes by, assuming it's a burn scar. That honestly feels like Oda hinting at us that the name actually has a different meaning, and it's not someone with a burn scar in general, contrary to what most people think. So if we break down the name in a different way, Hinoki can mean sun tree, Hi meaning sun, no meaning of, and then Ki meaning tree. Zu can mean sight or seen, and Otoko, man. So the name can actually be translated to the man who saw the sight or scene of the sun tree. As you've probably realised by now, this connects to the sun tree Eve, which is located exactly above Fishman Island. Fishman Island is where the last poneglyph originally was before getting moved and ended up in the hands of the Man Marked by Flames. We also know that anyone who sails near him gets swallowed by giant whirlpools, another possible tie to Fishman Island because we have seen the Fishman Karai can make whirlpools. Lafitte suggesting a devil fruit as the cause makes me think that yet it's another misdirection by Oda to cover up the possibility that it's not a devil fruit, but something else that causes the whirlpools. With all this in mind, let's take a look at Yorkie, Brook's former captain. He has two face tattoos, one of which is upside down, and when taken individually, they look like the katakana Hi, present in Hinokizu no Otoko. If you were to flip one around and combine them, you would then obtain the kanji Hi, which stands for sun. This fits really well with the new meaning of the name I previously stated, giving a new perspective that could link the name to Yorkie. Brook's skull has a crack in it that looks like the hiragana character, Hi instead, representing the duality between katakana and hiragana, the two basic writing systems of Japanese. That crack is also the one that allowed him to open up his skull and store the poneglyph rubbings inside, which could potentially be foreshadowing for Yorkie's involvement with the final missing poneglyph. If we now go back and take a look at Brook's flashback again, we can see that after coming out of a certain forest, Yorkie and the crew had contracted an incurable disease. Deciding not to spread it, Yorkie took off with the infected crewmates, hoping to pass through the calm belt, as we saw in the story. The disease they contracted looks a lot like the tree fever that affected some of the islands in the Grand Line 400 years ago, and the way to cure it was to extract a substance called conine from the kona tree, a tree very likely to be found in big forests according to Noland. So when Yorkie took off for the calm belt, there's a chance that he was found by some fishmen who were passing through, saw them all sick, and decided to take them to Fishman Island to see if they could save them. The problem here is that they would need to get their ship coated right then and there. The perfect fishman to do all that would have been Tom, who may have been there because he was researching a way to keep monsters away from boats, something he later implemented in the sea train. The calm belt was a perfect place for this type of research. It's filled with sea monsters. He was 25 years old at the time, so strong enough to carry a boat by hand and skilled enough to coat it. Tom is also a cowfish, and it matches with the Rumbar Pirates' Jolly Roger, which is a cow/bull. This can also be a parallel to Caribou's ship, getting transported by the cow seeking Mu when they were trying to follow Luffy. A coated ship carried by a cow sea folk. This also reminds me of when Rayleigh was saved by Hachi, yet another parallel of a fishman saving a human. Back to the point. When Tom found Yorkie and the crew, he decided to take them back with him to Fishman Island to see if they could be cured. His brother Den is a sea forest researcher, and at the time, even though he's 10 years old, he could have been pretty knowledgeable about the sea forest, which by his own description is a mysterious place, and the reason why he lives there is to research it. So it's possible he was researching it in the past also. Additionally, he mentions that the blessed sun tree, Eve, allows the coral to flourish and make the fish and whales gather around, and the whales all know where the sea life is most fertile. So So it really feels like the sunlight from the tree in general perhaps has some sort of special property. So whether Yorkie had tree fever or another type of disease, it's very likely that a cure could be found in the sea forest. It could also be the case that something special might have happened, because this is a really close parallel with Dr. Hirola. Both had an incurable disease, and with the interpretation, the man who saw the sight of the sun tree, assuming that that's Yorkie, the two would also share the sight of trees. Hiruluk was cured by seeing the sakura trees, and maybe Yorkie was cured by the sun tree, since we've seen that it has some sort of effect on the sea forest. While on Fishman Island, Yorkie could have learned the Fishman Karate, which would explain the ability to create whirlpools. He also missed half of his crew, which could have then been replaced with fishmen, who were again able to create whirlpools. It's also very interesting to think about, because Fisher Tiger was around 8 at the time, and was later known as the Adventurer, so maybe he started sailing at a very young age under Yorkie and explored the world with him. Eventually, he somehow ended up being captured by the Celestial Dragons and later formed the Sun Pirates after escaping. But we don't actually know the reason he chose the sun as the symbol for his Jolly Roger. We just know that the symbol was used to replace the Celestial Dragon slave mark. So obviously it looks like a bit of a Nika symbol or a liberation symbol, but it's not explicitly canonically been stated yet. There's also his nickname, which is related to the sun, as previously stated. Another detail that most people have missed is that when Yorkie took off with his 6 crewmates, he sailed away with the Rumbar pirate ship. Brooke and the rest who were left behind had to obtain a new ship to resume their journey. The sails of that first ship were pitch black, matching the ones from the man marked by flames. Yet another tie. We should also check out the cover story of chapter 631, where it's very strongly hinted that the man talking with Crocus could actually be Yorkie. This cover story is part of a series called From the Decks of the World, where we see each person who has met with a Straw Hat before receiving the news of their comeback after the time skip. In Brooke's case, there was no way for either Yorkie or Crocus to know about him, since his poster had remained the same for the past 50 years. But this time, the news crew delivered the updated poster, which is basically a confirmation that he was alive and he was part of the Straw Hat's crew. So it's likely that when Yorkie saw the news, he immediately went to tell Crocus about him, bringing some sake to celebrate as a tribute for the song that he loved, Bink Saki maybe. You can see the newspaper on the top of the table on the left side of the panel. As we can see in the background, Laboon looks very happy to see whoever this is in the cover story, further suggesting it is our boy Yorkie. We can find a connection through Lafitte, probably since he was from the West Blue, just like the Rumbar Pirates. And if you guys remember, there's a small detail that we have been given at Saba Odi in the slave auction. The first person that was going to be sold off was a pirate from a long line of musicians who could play all sorts of instruments that came from Torona in the West Blue. He was also an expert winemaker, and in Japanese sake it's usually used with alcoholic beverages, which again reminds me of Bink Sake. Lafitte rocks a cane, just like Brooke, and he's a tap dancer, something close to music which could suggest yet another connection there. So Lafitte being the one who speaks mostly and gives the most detail about the man marked by flames, this could be a nod from Oda, particularly as they're from the West Blue. It's also worth noting that Yorkie's bounty was purposely hidden from us for whatever reason, and when he was about to die he showed strong resolution and will, which is super important because that's what might have helped him go through the ordeal he was just in. Lastly, the final words that Brooke exchanged with Yorkie might truly be special. We're parting ways, but this doesn't have to be the end. We'll reunite again, okay, Captain? Because this could be the perfect setup for when Yorkie will reappear in front of us again, as an old man making a big surprise and meeting Brooke again. The relationship with Fishman that he developed will also help to bring Jinbei into the story more, making it all come full circle. He also brought Big Mama Poneglyph, similar to how the man marked by flames might have moved the road poneglyph. Either way, that's it folks. With this video I mainly wanted to share this new meaning of Hinokizu Otoko that I've found, because it opens up a whole lot of new possibilities, broadening the perspective we all have on this mystery, and hopefully it provides a new path for somebody to think about. With that in mind, I found a lot of elements that could connect back to Yorkie, and I am wanting to bring all those points to your attention. Other than that, hope you liked what I brought to you today. Remember to like if you like the video, sub if you want more nice finds like this one, and most importantly, share the video so that the information spreads around. I can't wait to read all the theories you guys come up with and the possibilities that you see with your brilliant minds. I'll be waiting for you in the comments section. If you've made it this far, you've just received a fresh pair of socks, brand new, second hand. Let me know where you want them. Right, peace.